Yet, growing up Afro and American, there was still so much that I didn't have, like money. We were poor, real poor. My mother used to say, poor as Job's turkey. And I did not always have a strong sense of safety and security because of the violence in the housing project where I grew up. A sense of security was often very fleeting. And what I felt most acutely was I did not have the presence of my father in my life. And that is where I chose to begin my book. So if you will join me on a little bit of a journey through Cleveland streets, I'll read to you a little excerpt, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the themes in my book. The number 14 bus runs east on Kinsman Road, straight through the steel heart of Cleveland. I stepped on at East 55th Street as the bus headed uptown to Mount Pleasant. That's where the people who worked at the steel mills lived. In summer, the black steel men painted the porches of their new homes in shiny coats of red and yellow, blue and green. From my seat in the back of the number 14 bus, I watched their pretty porches slide by like carnival tents. They make that long money working at Bethlehem Steel, Mama was always saying, or Republic Steel pays good money, enough to buy a nice house with a porch. Mama was a hard-working woman, too dignified to pout about her disappointments in life. But some days, disgust got the better of her, and words like lemon and salt squeezed bitter off her tongue, stinging my open adolescent wound, an absent father. We could have bought us that house in Mount Pleasant instead of ending up down here in the projects if your father could have got a job in one of the steel mills, she would say, then purse her lips in regret. But my father, Charles Lyles, was not a man made of steel. Time after time he had searched, and still no mill would hire him. Even when I was in kindergarten, when he still lived with us, he spent his days jobless, out roaming the stratosphere where love and astronomy collide. He'd look skyward and swear that the stars were shining in broad daylight. You just can't see them because the light of the sun is drowning them out, Charles Lyles explained to me. But they are there. Oh, yes, they are. At night, he gazed on stars and counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the Big Dipper, or Ursa Major. See those 7 there? That's the Little Dipper. Skeeter, who told you all that stuff about the stars? My 5-year-old self demanded to know. Impressed with his celestial savvy, I reported to my Sunday school class at Mount Olive Baptist Church that Charles Lyles, my father, could find his way around heaven and knew where all the stars were. I was proud that even though my father did not make it to church as often as some Sunday school students' daddies did, he was obviously privy to special information from heaven. But it did him no good. His hours idle, his pockets empty, too often that sky, gray as a cemetery, descended on his soul, landing him dead drunk off a bottle of Thunderbird wine, hopelessly, painfully earthbound at the Kinsman Bar and Grill. That is where I hope to find him as I rode the number 14 bus up Kinsman Road that summer day in 1974. 9 years had gone by since he had left me, my mother, 2 sisters, and 2 brothers. Since then, I had seen Charles Lyles only half a dozen times or so, maybe. There were times I could no longer remember. We now lived in the King Kennedy Project, a place of brown brick and cinder block buildings, hallways, steel doors, gritty tiles, concrete and tar-top playgrounds, ice cream trucks, rats, murderers, and incinerators. Charles Lyles had never come there to visit us, but at 14 years old, I was forgiving. There was much to tell Charles Lyles. A month before, upon my graduation from 9th grade at Kennard Junior High School, all the English and Social Studies awards had gone to me. Outstanding. That's what my teachers at Kennard Junior High School called me. Miss Lyles is an outstanding young lady. Most outstanding of all, I had been awarded a $12,000 three-year scholarship to attend the Hawken Upper School in Gates Mills, Ohio, a private school for rich white kids way out in the suburbs. Hawken, I had been told, was better than the high schools where most kids from the projects went. Hawken had no more than 15 students to a class. Hawken had a huge library full of books, maps, and magazines, a big red barn with animals. An art studio had a potter's wheel. A theater with dressing rooms was under construction. In the math lab, a computer talked in lighted green letters in 1974. Plus, Charles Lyles needed to see that I was grown up now, with real breast that fit into a regular lady-sized bra, not no training bra. So I dropped 2 quarters into the number 14 fare box to ride up Kinsman Road. I was going to find Charles Lyles, and I was going to tell him that Charlise, the daughter he had chosen to name after himself, was about to do something brave and remarkable in the world, and I thought he ought to know about it. He would be proud. He would brag about me to his buddies at the bar. They would order another drink to ease their envy. They would scold their own children. Why can't you win a scholarship to a private school like Charles Lyles' daughter? So I go on, and I end up in the bar, and I meet a couple of my dad's sort of friends / enemies who were kind of looking for him, and they tell me a neighborhood where they think he's staying, and I kind of track him down. But some of the themes that I'd like to point out in that first section was the good teachers that I had at Cleveland Public Schools who gave me the idea that I could be an outstanding young lady. You know, I learned a long time ago, before I came to Catalyst, what good teaching is. And one of the things that my wonderful teachers did for me is that they sort of constantly resurrected my interest in learning in times when my life was kind of rocky and I was distracted. And as you'll see if you read the book, I failed 3rd grade. And I was placed after that in the classroom of Miss Ruth Collins, legendary Ruth Collins, who kind of resuscitated me academically. She was a marvelous, lively, bouncy teacher. She had these huge breasts, and all the boys would tease her, but she brought such vivacity to the classroom. She would put on these shows, and she and her sister would come up with these musicals. They'd take the words from Give My Regards to Broadway and turn it into Give My Regards to Mother. And we'd do a show for Mother's Day. And she taught us how to use a ruler to make our costumes for the show. But she was a masterful, masterful teacher. And she revived my interest in studying and reading and doing my best in school. And I think I will never forget her. And I think of her today when I hear so often that children are not interested in school. I think, how could they not be interested if there are teachers like Miss Collins out there? Another thing that a great teacher does is she has compassion that extends beyond the classroom. And in my case, this was extraordinary largesse. In 9th grade, when I received my scholarship to Hawken, I was going to turn it down because my family didn't have a car. And so there was really no way for me to get way out to Gates Mills. And that was that. It was as simple as that. But one of my teachers at Kennard Junior High, Mrs. Moore, my biology teacher, stepped forth, and she'd heard that I was turning the scholarship down,